Welcome to the Big Kickoff League of Ireland podcast with myself, Roy Shanahan, and Nathan Doyle from thebigkickoff.com. And today we are joined by a man whose work I hugely admire. It's artist and illustrator Barry Masterson. Barry, welcome to the Big Kickoff League of Ireland podcast.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Brilliant. It's great to have you on. Don't go shy on us now, Barry. You've been yapping away there off camera. So listen, what we'll do is we're going to talk about your illustrations and your work that you do on the League of Ireland at the end of the podcast. So anyone who wants to listen to Barry or see his stuff, you'll be looking at it on YouTube at the end. We won't have it on the podcast for obvious reasons. You won't be able to see it, so we will do that at the end. So we might as well go, Nathan, straight into the weekend's action. And we had a huge Dublin derby, because it's always a huge Dublin derby.
Yeah, every week.
Did this materialise into the game that we all wanted to see?
I think it was a bit of a damning indictment towards the Bohemians team now at the minute, isn't it? The state that they're in. Like, even you see Keith Long came out after the game, was talking about that they're going to need recruitment during the summer to bridge that gap between themselves and Shamrock Rovers. It's been obvious to see this season, hasn't it? Like, it's always going to be difficult with it, that when you talk about this Bows team and how often that you lose key players at the back end of a season. But yeah, it's not good for them here. It's always bad to be losing against our rival Shamrock Rovers. This is the Rovers have done the double over them now this season. The Andy Lyons goal in the first 5 minutes was showed that stone as well. And waiting for the Jody stand too. I don't know about you lads, but coming into this game, it was really, that's what you're going to predict, wasn't it? It was a comfortable Shamrock Rovers win, just for Rovers to keep the pressure on Derry City in the title race, just by looking at how Bows have been getting on this season.
Yeah, I think it was, when you look at the result that Bows had against Shells, that's where the little bit of optimism was for Bows. But if you were to look at the season so far, you wouldn't have given them a chance in hell, really, and that's kind of the way it materialised. It doesn't help when you stick in OGs like that were put in. Barry, did you get to watch that game, or were you watching your beloved Longford? No, they actually played Saturday, didn't they? So you were all right. You should have watched it.
I were on Saturday. No, I just seen the highlights. I guess. What else do you expect? Really, they're playing against half of their own former players, which probably hurts the most. Andy scoring especially. But yeah, Bows are kind of doing exactly what I expected them this season. You know, they've lost the entire spine of their team. And Rovers have probably gotten better. They're getting better as the season goes on as well. They started very slowly. So no surprises. It's kind of like Bows have UCD next. If they win that, they're still hanging on. If they come fourth, it's best case scenario, really.
Yeah, I think you're going to get really good results and really bad results when it comes to Bows this season, and that's going to be their season. Nathan, Derry absolutely hammered UCD. It's again, as Barry said, you're expecting certain results. You expected this result, but you didn't really expect the scoreline.
Like, a strange difference that a week makes for UCD. You think the game before the Derry City game, the Hell St. Pat's, St. Pat's beat them 2-1 in the Belfield Bowl, and just about like UCD were excellent in that game against St. Pat's, and they really made them work hard for it, and they come out here to a clinical Derry City side, like Jamie McGonigal again popping up with a hat-trick. He's been absolutely brilliant this season. I suppose the thing coming out of this game that's been one of the talking points that I've seen being used now, and I want to throw it into here, lads. People questioning UCD's standing within the league, which for me I think is ridiculous. If you look at the history of UCD and the players that they pumped into the league consistently since their inception, since they came into the league, there's no question that Derry City, that UCD do have their place in the League of Ireland and in the Premier Division. So I don't know, how do you feel about that one? Do you think UCD have a belonging here in the Premier Division?
Barry, you shoot there.
Go on. So I heard Tony O'Donoghue saying they should be thrown out of the league the last day. A disgrace, Tony.
Did Tony O'Donoghue say that?
I didn't want to throw him under the bus, Barry. That's who I was sort of dancing around.
Oh no, get that out there. I didn't hear that.
He wasn't saying they should be thrown out, but basically that, you know, we should expect to hold a higher standard, and that a student team shouldn't be in the league. I disagree personally, because there is so many good players, you know, have come come through UCD into the league, the fact that there is the opportunity to do a degree, pursue education while playing football, I think is really important. They do struggle every now and again when they're in the Premier Division, but the fact they got there is everyone else's fault. You can't really complain that they're in the league because Waterford lost to them and they got into the playoffs. You know, if they're not good enough, they won't be there, and they are good enough, so they're there. You know.
And that's it. And I think it's a bit unfair, because what happens then is that UCD then, after a successful season, they get their players picked off them, and they're a shadow of their former selves sometimes when they go into this Premier Division, and we've seen that happen many times before. Now I think Tony's a bit off the case there. Listen, in an ideal world, you know, all the top teams are all professional and etc., and they're all earning nice money, and there's great crowds, and you know, we've got amazing stadiums. But at the moment, we are where we are, and UCD are a valuable commodity to the league, because, as you said, they create these players, they give the people opportunity. It's a pathway through to playing football, and some of these players may not be looking at football as a career, and all of a sudden it does change around for them because they're getting their opportunity to play League of Ireland football. So I'm not with Tony on that one there. Nathan, what about a roundup just of the rest of the Premier Division results and maybe the standings, really?
Yeah, do you know what? We'll jump on to the Saturday, Roy, because Sligo Rovers beat Drogheda 3-2 in what was an extremely entertaining game, I have to say. There was 2 David Cawley goals in the first 3 minutes. There was a missed penalty on either side. Evan Weir got sent off from Drogheda. And then to top it all off, Gary Buckley popped up with a 93rd minute header to give Sligo Rovers the leads. It's something that they need. Sligo have been struggling over the past couple of weeks. But even though they lost, that's a decent Drogheda side that we have there. They got off to a difficult start to the season. I was going to say that Evan Weir has been brilliant for them this season, which he has been, even though he's the man that got that seen red through this game. But they're going to be in that tight little cluster, you know, with themselves, with Shells, Sligo, Dundalk, these sort of teams that are going to be in there, little cluster mid-table. Probably not Dundalk, really. They might be more challenging for Europe, but they might be down there. A big one as well, we're seeing Ryan Brennan returning to the starting 11, who he arrived from Shelbourne in the off-season and was really struggling with injury. So to have him back into the team and scoring goals and playing consistently is going to be a huge key for Drogheda going forward.
Yeah. With Sligo, Nathan, last week we were talking about the fact that they can't get the players that some of the teams in Dublin can, but that soon goes away when they get a few wins under their belt, and it only seems to come out when there's a defeat or two.
This is what we were talking about last week. I always think that's an absolute rubbish statement to make, like with any side. Like, again, going back to Sligo, you look at when Mick Cook was there and Ian Barrowclough was there was a whole host of Dublin players within that team. And while you could talk about, you know, young lads want to live in a major city or whatever it may be, but at the end of the day, if your club is attracting European games, if it's winning league titles and challenge for cups, lads from whatever part of the country are going to go to your club and want to play football. So it's to make a club attractive to these players and entice them down more so than anything else.
Now, before I go on to Barry, Nathan, just to finish off, looking at the league table there now, it's really the way we thought it would be. It's shaping up to nearly every position where you would have thought that the teams would be.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's fairly predictable. It's starting to take shape now. At the start, there's a couple of odd results thrown around. I don't know if you're looking there. Personally, going to what I was saying at the start of the season, I thought Shelbourne would have been a little bit further at the table, just with the bit of quality that he added to the squad. I don't know, with the struggling there. The beating 2-1 against Dundalk on Friday night. Damien Duff actually was joining the Ollie Horgan get sent off club. So that's his first red card in the League of Ireland. I'm sure it won't be his last by the amount of managers we see get sent off. But yeah, if I'm looking at an underwhelming team within the Premier Division standings, I don't know about you lads, but I would throw Shelbourne into the mix there. They're just hovering in a position. While they wouldn't be too nervous if Finn Harp's in 9th place at the moment, they're in and around that drop zone.
Is third from bottom, Barry, is third from bottom the position that Shelbourne would be looking at to make sure that they at least got? That's the minimum, because you don't want to be in the relegation zone. You don't want to be in the playoff zone. It's their first season. They're building. mean, there's only a matter of 3 points away from moving up a place or two, so they're not miles off. But surely just staying up in the division is the key.
Yeah, before we get to that, as a man from the North Longford countryside, Sligo is a metropolis. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's a
Yeah,
town,
for
Barry.
sure.
It's a town. It's not a
That's
city.
Sligo City. It's got a cathedral.
Yeah.
In terms of Shelburne, I don't know. I think they're doing okay. I didn't expect much more. Like you were saying, the league has kind of taken shape. I think everyone knew it was going to be Derry and Shamrock Rovers first and second. Pat's kind of signed some players, lost some players, will lose James Abanqua. Longford's James Abanqua, I must say. For those who don't know, he'll be our future Ireland international, even though he never played for us. Yeah, Pat's Derry. I think Shamrock Rovers top three, but Pats are probably going to be fighting for third or fourth. And then the middle, it
could be
anyone. I don't know. Like so there's not much between Sligo, Dundalk, Bulls. Yeah, I'd say you'd expect Sligo to come fourth because they're the most settled of those squads, and but if any of them come fourth, I think they'll be happy with the season no matter what happens. Below that, yeah, really draw the Shelburne Finn Harps for what I thought were going to be fighting over the playoff spot.
Yeah, absolutely.
UCD were always going to go down, really. So I think if any of them come in any of those positions, you wouldn't be surprised,
Yeah, I think we're all looking forward to a title finish, a tight title finish towards the end, and it looks like it's going to be that, and the league definitely needs
I'm
that.
enjoying the Damien Duff drama as well. That's good. That's good for the league. It's good
crack. That's great. Now
I don't think
I'm going to stay with you, Barry.
Quick one way, like people keep saying. I definitely don't see that coming. If anything, he's too stubborn for that now, and you can tell he cares. There's no way he's just going to walk away.
Well, he can't. I don't think he can because it wouldn't do him any favors in the long run. So I think he has to stick it out.
I enjoy it. I think I respect it because he doesn't need this hassle, but he's decided to do it, and we have an awful lot of incredibly famous former players who are not kind of here working and actually trying to make a difference, and I'm very much here to see it. I applaud that.
Right, as I said, I'm going to stick with you, Barry, because we're going to talk about the first division. I'm not even going to ask you about Longford because I know it'll probably come into the conversation anyhow. Just give us a rundown on your thoughts on what way the first division is shaping up.
Much like the Premier Division, I think bar Waterford maybe not doing quite as well as everyone expected. It's pretty much what we thought. Galway, Cork, and Waterford are full time, and if any of them came below top three, you'd be very surprised. I didn't really have a favourite for who was going to win because the league is so up and down, and there's a lot of draws. There's a lot of teams just out to kill you and get a draw. So you see a lot of that happening every week. I've watched us play. Well, I've watched us play most of the teams pretty much at this stage, and a lot of it has been a war of attrition, not a football match, So
were Cork a surprise?
Definitely better than I thought they'd be after we drew 0-0. It was our first game because we missed the first 2 weeks, so it wasn't a great match, and I think they had a couple of injuries. Dylan McGlade was injured that match too, so they struggled to create things. They were still building. So I think they've improved since. And yeah, I think of the three, they were the ones I thought would come third, not to be top at this stage anyway. So I think they're doing quite well.
Yeah. It definitely makes for an interesting read because you've got the likes of Bray and Waterford slightly struggling, where you would have thought that they definitely, Waterford you would have thought would be up there now, and Bray you would have thought they would have been up a lot further. So they're the two probably that surprised me. Not so much Treaty mid-table, they're kind of consolidating. Sometimes you get the buzz of the first year, and then after that then it gets a little bit harder. So I'm not too surprised there. Nathan, you look at Cove in the usual position, I suppose. Athlone in their usual position, bar last year. Wexford, who are actually probably doing better than they've ever done, but we had that talk last week with Brian O'Sullivan, who mentioned, the budget and all, and they've been given a little bit extra, so it's amazing that little bit of money does go a long way. When you look at the rest of them, Nathan, and when you look at Galway, do you think just because of the money that's behind Galway, is that going to be telling at the end of the season?
I think it could, Roy, especially with the summer recruitment window going to open up. You'd imagine that Galway will spend a bit of cash and try and improve, because Cork City look absolutely excellent this season, and they really do look like the team to beat. Like Barry was saying, you had the 3 full-time clubs. It could have been either one of them really, and Waterford have been really disappointing. Do you know what? I'm gonna help Barry out a little bit and shine up Longford, because I know I the same. Anytime Pat's around gets a mention, I'm dying to jump in. I suppose, Barry, you're the man to ask. You would have seen more first division football than myself and Roy. I'm getting the impression by what I'm seeing is that the overall standard of play within the league this season is absolutely atrocious to watch. It's a lot of it's gone back to long ball football. I think that's one of the reasons that was cited with Ian Morris leaving his post at Waterford. But I watched Longford play Cove Ramblers a couple of weeks ago, and I thought Longford were absolutely excellent on the day in terms of ball retention, playing out from the back, very calm in the middle. The 2 lads in midfield, Darren Craven and Dean McMenemy, I think that's the lad. Yeah. The 2 of them are absolutely, they ran the show in the midfield. Would you agree with that assessment? Do you think Longford's are the most attractive team to be looking at in the first division this season?
We're trying to sneak in and be dark horses and win the playoffs and tell no one. Keep it that way.
I hope no one knows.
Yeah. No. Yeah, we started slow, and I think we all had low expectations because we lost a lot of players at the end of the season. You know, Dean Williams and Dylan Grimes went to Drogheda. There was all of our few goals gone. Rob Manley went to Bray, and even Joe went to Wexford, and you know, a few others came in and out. So the team was quite new and quite young. We brought a few guys from Bray with us. A lot of the Bray fans were very upset about the players we signed. Apparently, we took a lot of their better players, and they just replaced everybody with Cabo players. So when we played Bray at the start of the season, honestly, the worst game of football I've ever seen in my life. It was shocking. Both teams have improved, and I think the entire league has improved slowly as the season has gone on, because I think there was a lot of changes in a lot of teams, and the pitches were bad because we had all those storms at the start of the season. So I think the next round, I'm hopeful, will be better. In terms of Longford, yeah, pleasantly surprised. I think everyone is pleasantly surprised. Dean McMenemy, we have him on loan from Shamrock Rovers, is way too good for the first division already.
He's brilliant.
He's only 20, you know. You can tell, you know, he's way too good, because we lost Zambra and Aid Irvin's gone to Shelburne, and that was our starting midfield for the last 3 or 4 years gone. And no disrespect to the lads, but you do not notice them gone at all. Aaron Robinson as well, who we signed maybe 2 seasons ago, he came from non-league, and he played his first season in the Premier Division, which is a big step up, but he's finding his feet now. I think he's doing quite well. Got other young players. We have a young left back, Ben Lynch, who only played 4 or 5 times before this season, I'd say, and he started every game, and he's doing really well. New goalkeeper, we'll shout out to Luke Dennison, who's been our sub goalkeeper for the last 3 years, and he had a shaky enough start, but he was really good against Treaty, especially. He's getting much better. Should have got sent off earlier on in the season for one of the clearest handballs you'll ever see, and the ref missed it somehow, but we'll take it. But all in all, yeah, they're doing well. I wrote down a random list of things here.
Can I throw one out to you, Barry? I looking at the Longford side last season, and you probably agree, I don't know if you will, but I thought Aaron O'Driscoll at the back was head and shoulders the best player for Longford that year. I was missing him at all at the back. You know, he's another one that went off the Shelburne as well.
We were very bad at the start of the season. Very bad defensively. You should, if you can, go back and watch the Bray game that we lost. We should have been 5-0 up, not even joking, after about 30 minutes, and managed to lose 2-1.
You didn't sell it, so I don't think we'll go back.
yeah, I don't think I'll bother with the synopsis that you gave there in fairness.
We got sweet revenge last week in a 93rd or 4th minute winner. It was good times. But yeah, very solid in defence now. I will say about Gary Cronin, when he was managing Bray and the season we went up in the playoffs, I thought Bray were the best team in the league. When we played, they bullied Longford and were way better than us every single match, and Drogheda managed to win the league. And you can tell he knows how to set up a team. He's a good coach. You know, we've improved week on week, I feel like. So I'm keeping my expectations low so I don't get disappointed. That's just a rule for life, I think. We're probably going to come forward, maybe 3rd. and any more than that is a bonus, I think. But I think we will come together in the playoffs, and then anything can happen. That's what I'm looking at. We do play Cork and Galway in the next few weeks, and that will say a lot about what's going to happen for the rest of the season.
I think so, and the fact that you're chasing after games just to try and catch up on them doesn't give the real reflection of where you are. So it'll be interesting to see how you do against Cork and Galway. They'll be real interesting games. Right, we're going to move on from the first division, and I wanted to just quickly talk about Gareth Penrose wrote an article for extratime.com. The 2022 League of Ireland attendances, the story so far. And it's a really positive one. When you look at the Premier Division, it talks about delving deeper into the overall figure of 129,520 fans in the Premier Division. It's an increase of 12% on 2019, 20% on 2018, 38% on 2017. The average gate has gone up from 2,579 to 2,878, which is a great sign. But it says the first division, largely due to Cork, Galway and Waterford, has really jumped, and first division venues for 2022 is up 99% on 2019. Nathan, this is what we had talked about at the start of the season. It's the bounce off COVID. Everything seems to be, people want to get out, they want to do things, they want to see football games now instead of watching them on television. People are trying to get out as much. So COVID has been brilliant for the League of Ireland as far as I'm concerned. This is great and positive news, isn't it?
Yeah, like I said, we've seen the early signs last year when Bohemians went on that European run in the Aviva. They were attracting great crowds with limited capacity. The FAI Cup final between Pats and Bows was excellent crowd of 40,000 plus showed up to that game. So yeah, we're just seeing the knock-on effect of that, which is great to see, because one thing with the crowd coming in, we've seen loads over the past couple of weeks, lads, of trouble at games and that becoming an issue, and that's always going to take front and center of mainstream media coverage as well. So yeah, to hear little tidbits like that, it's brilliant to see, because it can only benefit the league going forward when you get more people through the turnstiles.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at Pats in 2016. Their average gate was 957. Yeah. And this year it's 3,815. That is just massive, isn't it? I only said that because I know you're a Pats fan, but every other team, Shelbourne 583 to 3,300. Dundalk, in fact, Dundalk are probably the most level. They've gone from 2,700 to 2,900. Shamrock Rovers have gone from 2,041 to 5,318. It's absolutely brilliant to see, and we'll go down. I can't leave out Longford now, I suppose, so we'll try and look for Longford. Longford, what would you reckon Longford? Longford in 2016, 488. They say now it's 532. Where's the support, Barry? What's going on?
Actually, we found about 60 people down the back of the couch there.
I'm surprised though. Like Longford, you would think that Longford would have when I'm saying a decent support, I'm talking about, a solid 1,500 every week. It looks like, it has everything that's around, as in, you're Longford, you own Longford. So you would think that the people who play football in Longford would be supporting them. We had this discussion about at Longford Town that we don't see that cohesion between the local clubs and the League of Ireland and the pathway through it. There doesn't seem to be that connection. I thought that there was that in Longford. You might be able to share any of your insight into that.
It's a complicated one. I think honestly, even when we were good in the mid-noughties, the average attendance was probably 1,200 to 1,500 on big days. Right. Now you'd get a full house. I vividly remember winning the League Cup against Bows, and it was 5,000 at the game, and I think we beat Derry 3-0 the next week, and there was about 600 out. So there's that kind of attitude.
Okay.
It's very much a GAA county. Gaelic is all that matters, and you have to be doing well consistently to get crowds. And when you are, people will support you. I think another issue is the ground is outside of the town, so you can't just walk up to the ground. You have to drive, and that that can just put people off. It's kind of a hassle. I think we're one of the clubs who struggled when the season changed from winter football. For whatever reason, a lot of the countryside teams actually got better crowds in the winter. I don't know, was everyone out playing Gaelic and the likes now, and there's a lot more clashes with training and things like that. I think that might affect it a little bit. other than that, yeah, anything in the 500 or 600 range is considered okay, I would say.
Okay. All right. Okay.
If we
So
got
there's a lot of
to
work for that
playoffs,
club to do to,
yeah,
push themselves forward. Because when you look at the league as a whole, there's a lot more talk about turning professional, even the attitudes of the clubs being professional. And if they ever want to go professional, then you're going to have to get the crowds in, the support in, to get the money through the gates, to get the merchandise sold, et cetera, et cetera. So is it that Longford have to start from the grassroots up and try and amalgamate or have pathways and links with local clubs around and try and get more and more include clubs in? Like I don't know what way it is. I know with Shamrock Rovers they will give out tickets to the clubs who are affiliated to them, and they'll bring over all the kids and all, and that's a way of enticing fans to start loving the club, I suppose. Is there anything like that? Do you ever see anything like that down in Longford?
I think it's, as I said, because it's a predominantly GA county, you're always fighting an uphill battle in that respect. But as far as I know, the club have started to try and build proper links with underage clubs. At least they have one with Melview now, who would be the junior club that James Abanqua and Aid Irvin come from. So I think they have a kind of a link up now. I do know that there is, they try and get kids' teams in to watch matches and play at halftime and all that sort of crack. But we definitely need to try and, I guess, it's important for all the clubs to strengthen your underage, and this takes volunteers and coaching and resources, and this is an issue, especially for somewhere like Longford. Like I think the county's population is only just under 40,000. Maybe the town itself is only 10,000. It's probably the third or fourth smallest county in the country. There's much bigger counties that don't even have League of Ireland teams. So in a way, we were spoiled in the noughties. It probably lifted the profile of the club way beyond what we ever expected was possible, and then to reach that is difficult to get back there, especially because so many of the other clubs have taken massive steps forward, and that's good. You need clubs like Rovers or things Dundalk have done over the last 10 years, or what Bows are doing now, or you see the fundraising at Sligo, or even Finn Harps just fighting against the tide every single year, and the amount of work that goes into to do what they do. So I think the competition is getting tougher. It's a lot harder to tread water now and actually stay relevant. There's also just so much more happening in the world. But I do think the league is, for want of a better word, it's kind of cooler now. Social media has definitely helped expose the league to more people. Kids are a lot more interested in it now, I think. I'm too much of an old man to use TikTok, but I know a lot of the clubs are very big on TikTok now with teenagers and stuff. And I'm sure the kids that are playing underage and stuff all love that, when they go with their friends. And I do think the league itself, the players are getting younger, the managers are getting younger. I think the supporters are as well. So we're probably at the start of something. It might take a few more years for us to really see the difference. It's the same with, a lot of clubs got infrastructure funding this year, and hopefully that'll grow and improve over the next few years. Yeah. Maybe we won't be having these conversations in a decade. We just need to stay the course and keep doing what we're doing.
And you've only got the 40,000 in the county. That seems quite low. So I don't know what you're doing. There must be something good going on down there. But I think you might have to do a Pat Mustard or something and start visiting a few people and try and repopulate that place. Because 40,000 is quite low. Yeah, and that's a struggle. I mean, I live in Lucan and Dublin, and we have close to 60,000, So it's,
These are like rabbits in Lucan, ain't this?
No, so the tellies go off at 9. So
Wi-Fi gets switched off at the council.
Okay, that's good insight into that.
We have 2 houses if anyone would want to move here.
Oh, that's right. They all left. That's right. That's what happened. Yeah, they all left. They thought it was a good idea and then left and came back. That's right. Okay, yeah, no, that's good. It's a good insight into it, and I just think that they'll have to do something, because if the progress, the way it's going at the moment, and you look at the likes of Derry City, you look at the likes of Galway, who are getting funded, obviously, Dundalk were for a while. They all these clubs need to start building their infrastructure. I know that's what, as you said, likes of Finn Harps are doing now as well. Longford are going to have to make sure that they don't get lost and drop back even further, because it's such a nice little stadium there, and as you said, there's a good few people there that who are really passionate about the club, so it's a good basis to build on. Okay, now we're going to go on to the next one. Ireland cerebral palsy squad are heading off to the World Cup in Spain this week. You want to give a shout out, Nathan, to the lads?
Yeah, we'll keep it brief, right? Because anyone listening in, we're going to have an interview with one of the key players, Dylan Sheridan. He's going to be popping up in the channel over the next couple of days. Sorry, so there you go. Roy thought I was getting away with more, that they're having a few weeks to edit that video. Back to work, mate. Back to work. So yeah, look, if we do give it a quick one, the lads are being drawn into Group B. They'll be playing Brazil and Germany and Thailand, with Germany and Thailand both making their World Cup debuts in this competition. They'll be playing Germany on Monday the 2nd of May. Then they'll be playing Thailand on Wednesday the 4th of May. And then they have a big clash against one of their old enemies, that I was being told, Brazil. And that's going to take place on Friday the 6th of May. These games will take place in Salou in Spain, like I was saying. Check out the FEI's social media platforms. They'll keep us updated on scorelines and how the lads are getting on. Yeah, really good chat with Dylan earlier. Funny enough, actually, lit one for you lads. Dylan is the only ever Irishman to come back from a World Cup tournament with the Golden Boot Award. He was the Golden Boot winner in the 2017 World Cup in Argentina. So yeah, keep an eye out for that one, and best of luck to the lads.
I did not know that stat until I read it when you told me you were doing the interview. So that's it's a special one. He'll always keep that close to him. Okay, and also Nathan, you wanted to talk about Stephen Ward because he's decided to hang up the boots. He
did, yeah, 36. He's been a really good servant, hasn't he? To the Ireland squad, 50 senior caps. We've seen him play in Euro 2012, the disaster that was Euro 2012. And the better tournament of Euro 2016. The reason why I wanted to give it a shout out, Roy, Stephen Ward, former League of Ireland man, made his professional start for Bohemians, made 74 league appearances, made his debut against Skerry Town in the FEI Cup in 2003. I scored twice, so nice old debut. Played for the likes of Wolves, long spell at Brighton, Burnley, Stoke, Ipswich, and finished up at Warsaw. Won championships with loads of Wolves in the 08-09 season and Burnley in the 15-16 season. And who can forget, won the Nations Cup, won the big one for Ireland in 2011. Is there anything else, even, look, we stick with Stephen for a minute. Any memories come to mind of Stephen Ward, whether that be in an Ireland jersey or a club jersey? Any Stephen Ward memories, lads, start that popping up?
None. No.
He was a striker, wasn't he? I remember that much.
He might as well be, because
he became a left back. I think he was a striker at Bowes, or he played left wing.
Yeah, I think so. Because he showed that. The one thing I remember was this is when he played with Burnley now, so completely off topic to League of Ireland. He scored in a 3-2 away win against Chelsea on the opening day of one of the seasons. I think could have been 17-18. I think it could have been the 17-18 season. He scored an absolute blinder in Stamford Bridge for Burnley. So that's the one that popped into mind for me now. I wouldn't say there was much social media coverage of his 2 goals against Skerry Town in 2003. In fairness.
Listen, you remember players in the future, another 10, 20 years. In the back of your mind, you won't remember too many moments, and if they are moments, they're special moments. I mean, if you remember Ray Houghton, you'll remember those big moments, but you won't remember how he played against Lithuania in 2000, the year 2000 or anything like that, So I think Stephen Ward is one of those professional players that, when he was playing for Ireland, was solid generally all the time, 7 out of 10, and he would very rarely go one less or one above that, but you knew that you were going to get a solid performance from it, and you can rely on him. And I don't think you can ask more from a professional player, that someone that you can rely on. And I think he was a good servant for all those clubs that he was with, and I think he was a good servant for the country. And it's great to see that someone from the League of Ireland went on to have that kind of career.
It was a big move at the time as well, wasn't it? When he went to Wolves, I think he went for £100,000 at the time. So, yeah, that would have been one of the earlier big moves that was made across the water.
Yeah, I might have given Ray Houghton an extra couple of years on his career there by saying 2000, but we'll forget that one. Okay, Nate, we'll talk about the fans' question. So you have a fans' question today.
Yeah, we do. But do you mind if we just, before we do that, we just want to mention the sad and extremely tragic passing of former Limerick goalkeeper Freddie Hall. The news breaking over the last day. Is a part of that Limerick side that won the first division in 2016. Spent a good 3 years with Limerick. Made 41 league appearances. I actually thought he made more. Just when I was looking up at that. But look, football to one side, you know, that you made 10 senior caps with Bermuda, but that doesn't matter at all in the grand scheme of things. Barry, you were saying off camera that you would have lived in Limerick at the time when Freddie was playing there, and excellent goalkeeper and a well-regarded person. And yeah, it's horrible to hear news like this, especially a man of Freddie's. He's only 37, like, and yeah, it was really just tragic to hear that news breaking last night when I seen it. So we'll make a smooth transition onto the fan questions. This week's one was sent in by Kevin Sheridan, which we really appreciate. The well was getting very dry. So if anybody wants to be like Kevin and has a question for us about Irish football, get them into us at the big kickoff. We really appreciate it. So Kevin starts us off with a little story, telling us what he was up to over the weekend. Kevin said he was at the Sligo versus Drogheda game, and the pitch was horrendous in the showgrounds. So Kevin's question is, should teams in certain parts of the country, i.e. Sligo Rovers, Finn Harps, I think he's picking on the west of Ireland and the northwest, in fairness to you, Kev, should teams in certain parts of the country be made to play on an all-weather pitch? Who wants to start off with that one, with that load of gun?
I'll let Barry, because he praised them earlier, so off you go.
Big umbrella is what we need. One umbrella. I don't know. I think the season starting earlier might have caught a few teams out, because it is basically the earliest the season started in a while, isn't it? They cut the off season down, and there was 3 storms in a week. I think the week before the season started as well. So we were always fighting a losing battle there, and the West obviously is generally wetter anyway. So his suggestion is terrible. It's a disgrace. He should be banned from ever submitting another question. I don't know. I don't feel too strongly about it. I know a lot of players really are not on board, and they cost a fortune, and you have to update them all the time. So we probably don't have the money and the infrastructure to actually do that all the time. You know, you hear the people in Dundalk are not happy about their pitch. So we could just end up with a load of clubs with that going on, you know, so be careful what you wish for, would be my advice.
I think the idea of a big umbrella, it probably is cheaper, isn't it? Because that was my one. Yeah. It's like the word it like be made to play an all-weather pitch. Like you're going to get thrown out of the league and points deducted if you don't get an all-weather pitch. Yeah, you can't make anybody do it. But I will say, for me, I don't think you should be in this late onto the season. Like I like, you know, Roy, Barry, I live in Sligo. I've been to the showgrounds a lot. The pitch is shocking. It's in complete bag order, and for me, there's no excuse to be this late on into the season.
Is that a continuous thing, Nathan? Is that year on year?
It generally does take a while for them. You'll see in the first couple of weeks it'll be pretty bad, and then it'll get it together. You know, whether that be with storms and weather. But if you look down the Cork City, you look to Louth, Dublin, like these climates aren't tropical climates either. You know, like, and I do get it. The wet west is a real thing. It's constantly raining down here. But other clubs in different parts of the country seem to get their act together for the start of the season. And even Finn Harps, like I was looking at the highlight show, the LOI TV highlight show, and the grass was, like, it was even commented on how high it was. Like, that's going back to dinosaurs, you know, Stone Age sort of football, you know, letting the grass grow high to stifle the opposition playing any sort of football. So, yeah, I don't think there should be any excuse to be this late into the season. We're having a pitch in such a bad condition the way Sligo do, and other clubs do. But yeah, you definitely shouldn't have it be making any teams go through the expensive cost of putting down an all-weather pitch.
I don't.
Because they're not the answer either. I'm personally not a fan of all-weather pitches either.
Well, so. I don't think you can make anyone have a pitch unless you're going to fund it. So, and the FAI in the position they're in at the moment aren't going to be funding anyone there unless the begging bowl from the government is a big begging bowl and it gets full. I would say, first of all, the Astros, while great for it to be able to go out and train on, etc., they're not good for football matches. they take away the normal bounce of a ball, they take away the normal pass of a ball. It's not the same feel. And you can see that. You don't even have to be playing on it to know it. You can see that when you watch a game, it's not the same feel. And yes, it probably can be an advantage sometime for the team who plays in it more. So Derry City will probably maybe got that win against Shamrock Rovers because of it, or maybe it was because of the dodgy back pass. But that could have been part of it as well. So there is advantages and disadvantages to it, and there is a percentage, a higher percentage of injuries on these pitches between twisting knees and etc. So I don't think so. I think if I was going to say anything, I would say all teams should be made not have these artificial grass pitches. I would say though that maybe clubs like Finn Harps, Galway, Sligo, those ones on the west, maybe should think of a hybrid. And you see that a lot. You see that even in Croke Park, where they have the plastic and the grass together, which kind of holds it together but keeps that element of a pitch. And that's what Sligo probably do need if this is a reoccurring thing. So maybe the hybrid look is there, but again, it costs money, so it will be interesting. So maybe you need to do a few more church collections down there, Nathan, and help out Sligo Rovers.
I'll get me high vis on.
Okay, so we are going to leave it there for the podcast. So everyone who has listened to the podcast, thanks very much. And we'll be listening to it next week. If you want to see the end of the show, which will be with Barry and just discussing some of his work, go onto the YouTube channel, the Big Kickoff League of Ireland show, and Google that in and you will find us there. That's the end of you. Thanks very much, and we'll talk to you next week. And everyone else here on YouTube, we'll talk a little bit about Barry. Okay, Barry, as I said, not just saying it, but I do hugely admire your work. I loved art when I was younger. I never really had the confidence, even though I was decent, but not. I always knew in the back of my head I'd never be brilliant, and that annoyed me, so I gave it up. But I always had a decent, like I could always copy well, and you're looking at something, but I couldn't. It annoyed me that I couldn't imagine something and get it down on a piece of paper, and that annoyed me. Now I'm looking at your work and all you're doing is copying there, so I'm going, feckin', I should have just kept going. But I never would have got near to the detail that you have in your pictures. First of all, just tell us a little bit about when you first found that you had this skill, this talent, and then how it matured and to where you are.
You have to be stupid enough not to give up, I think. Is
that what it is? That's it. That's a nice compliment. Thanks.
Okay, I'm too thick to have a normal job. I don't know. It's just drawn as a kid. I think all kids are kind of, most kids are creative. They're always up to some sort of nonsense in their own spare time. So I drew a lot. And yeah, that was it really. And when it came to like leaving cert time, and you're 17 or 18 or whatever, I looked at the CEO form and the long list of things, and I nearly did sport and recreation in Athlone, so shout out to Athlone. But I changed my mind last minute, realised I didn't want to do any of that crack. So I went and I applied for a portfolio course in Coláiste Dúlaig in Coolock. So I lived in Coolock for a year, and then a portfolio. I know it was alright. Shout out to Northside Shopping Centre.
God, that's the weirdest shout out we ever got in this show.
Yeah. So yeah, to get into art college, you have to do a portfolio, and you're kind of graded based on that, and you're leaving cert to get in. So I did a portfolio there, and I got into Limerick. I still didn't know what I wanted to do, and Limerick had basically an open course where you go into first year and you do everything, and then you choose what you want to specialize in later. So I kind of just fell into it, honestly. It wasn't a career choice. It was flailing through life as a teenager.
But you must have known
sense.
At CEO time, you must have known that you had a really good talent.
Yeah. I realized the football career wasn't going to happen, so I had to go for plan B, I was okay. art's the thing you work at. I think, you know, like, yeah, maybe some people are better when they're kids, but really it's time and work and stuff.
Yeah.
But
Okay. So what we're going to do, we'll have a little look at a couple of the pictures, because you've been going around every nearly League of Ireland stadium. Have you done every stadium so far?
yeah,
Every stadium's done so far.
I haven't drawn P-Mount yet, in case anyone who's a P-Mount fan wants
Yes,
to fight
yes.
me.
Yes,
But they're
it's
the
just,
only one we're missing.
so we've got there Longford Town, and I'll show you. That's that one there, but I do want to show the Talca Park one, and between that and the Longford Town one, there's so much detail in just in those stands, the individual seating. How time consuming is that?
Too time consuming, I would say. I know, yeah. It's hard to know what to say about it, really. You just kind of want to do the grounds justice, if that makes sense. They're spaces that I love, all of the League of Ireland grounds, even though they're very rough around the edges.
Yeah.
You know, I think they're,
You
I don't
certainly
know,
make them
they're
look
all,
better now, I have to say.
Yeah, like you
yeah.
made Talca Park look absolutely stunning, and that's no easy feat at all, in fairness.
I drew an older version of Tolkien, let's say, before they rearranged the seats. Although I must say, I do like what they've done with the terrace on the far
Yeah.
end now.
Yeah,
It's nice to see people there again and stuff. It's definitely an improvement.
It's a
But,
big plus, absolutely,
yeah.
no doubt about that. Again, you look here at Wexford's ground, and this is amazing. I want to be there at the moment, and so you do it far more justice than it actually is. But they're beautiful, and the fact,
Thank you.
why do you I suppose not why, because I understand why it's black and white and it's the colour. It's nearly the Schindler's List thing with the red dress. It just makes it stand out. But with that, did you do that on purpose, or did you just kind of stumble into that and you went, oh no, that's a good idea?
That's a big question. I don't know. I guess, yeah, I liked the idea of just having the club colours stand out, or at least sometimes the grounds aren't always the colours of the clubs, but, you know, colours that are easily identifiable to stand out. And I kind of like the monochrome look with just a hint of colour. I don't know, they feel, maybe, what's the best word? I kind of want people to see them and to feel almost nostalgic for the place, because I think football is, I don't know, nostalgia is like the strongest drug on earth.
Yeah.
And we're just going back for another hit every week and trying to create more memories, you know, and the grounds are the same thing. I guess if you put that up in your house somewhere, you will think about the place and maybe something that happened there that made you happy. There will be some of the best days of your life and some of the worst days of your life, and probably the least important thing, you know. And it's a funny combination, I guess. So yeah, that's why I like drawing them, and I think people enjoyed them and shared them around and stuff. You know, it's something I started, maybe, it's hard to know now. I graduated college in 2013, if we're going back to how I got here, and that was some crack now. Completely lost once I got out as well. I was still a man with no plan, making my way in the world in about 2013, and I was working just in a hotel in Limerick, just trying to pay rent and all that sort of crack. And it was very hard to, you know, make art and have a job. I'm sure you'd find yourself, especially when you finished college or whatever, and you were trying to break into journalism, and it's not paying you anything, and you're just like writing articles for free, or going to matches, or doing interviews, or whatever you're doing, you know. And it's hard to have the energy for both, you know, and you're trying to build something that doesn't exist yet, you know. So I did that for quite a few years and started throwing drawings like those, although they weren't as well. I'd say the stuff I make now is better. I still want it to be better all the time. That's a bit of a curse. It's like, no matter how well I draw something, I want the next thing to be better, and you're always chasing that. But you know, people shared the stuff on Twitter and on Facebook and on Instagram or whatever, and kind of gave me constructive feedback. So that's
you got the buzz off that, a little bit of a hit off that then as well, because it's nice to be appreciated for something that you love doing as well. So, you are, I suppose, you're chasing your Mona Lisa. Is that right? You're waiting for that one big one.
Magnus Opus.
I want to go on to one here. This is famous day in 2001. Ireland versus Holland in the World Cup qualifiers. I don't see myself there. I was there and in around that spot as well. So I'm not sure. You mustn't. That must be off the top of your head. When you look, what are you looking for? Why that one there? Did you see a picture? Did you were you at the game? Why that angle for that game?
You tell me. What does it make you feel? You said you were there.
Well, the first thing you see is the orange. That's the first thing I seen when you walk into the stadium is the orange of Holland. There's so much green in it, but the orange stands out. And it just gave you the feel that it was two tribes against each other.
Yeah.
It's really sort of, they're passionate, we were passionate, such a big game. And you're just kind of happy to be alive at that moment. It was just and of course the way the game worked out with McAteer scoring the winner and all, it was amazing. Is that the right answer?
That's not bad. I made a slightly different version of this for a book cover for Alan Hannafy's his name, called Heart and Spirit, if anyone wants to look it up. So there is a book. It was originally a book cover, and I talked to Alan about it, and this was his favorite match. Basically, in the history of Irish football, that's Alan's favorite match. So we worked together and talked about it, and I kind of, because we're watching the match or whatever, and what matters is what happens on the pitch, but the fan experience is really central to everything. So I wanted to include people in the image, that kind of thing, to be part of the crowd watching it. So that's why I decided to try and get as much of the crowd as possible. In terms of drawing it and reference and stuff, there's a surprisingly few good photos of Lansdowne from the inside. So a lot of it was looking at about 20 different photos and trying to build a mental image of what it's supposed to look like from roughly that angle, and just making something up. And the same, there's like no photos of the goal from that angle, let's say. So I was like watching videos and being like, okay, so Sam is meant to be standing here, and make a little bald man in the pitch roughly there, So yeah.
And do you get many people correcting you on maybe something like that?
Oh, I'd say
everything. The internet. If you want to find something out on the internet, you just make a statement. You don't ask a question. So just putting art out there means people will tell you when you get something wrong, even with all the stadium drawings for all the clubs. You're making a drawing and you're kind of just trying to catch the essence of the ground. It doesn't have to be 100% accurate, but there'll be lads going, the fish and chips truck isn't meant to be there, or that kind of crack. I'm sorry, I don't go there every week. I have no idea. I'm doing my best.
It's amazing. It's amazing when you look at that stadium and then you now look at this stadium, how different it is. Which is your favorite? When you look back at Lansdowne Road there, it's tight, it's on top of the pitch, it's old school, and you look at this stadium now, which I presume you've been in both.
Yeah, I was in.
Which do you prefer atmosphere wise?
Oh, well, probably my greatest memory in football is in Lansdowne. So Lansdowne has to win. Longford Town FAI Cup finals.
Yeah.
Alan Kirby scoring the goal that never should have been. Ended up about 20 rows further down in the stand after it goes in. I was only probably 13 or 14. I don't know if you all remember that.
That's my first ever game. My first ever league hurling game when it's beat Pats.
The Pats one, yeah. I was thinking of the Waterford one the year later, but Pats, what a time. Eric Levine still should have shot from the halfway line. That's my big take from the Pats game. But the Waterford game when we were losing, I think it was 1-0 in the 91st minute or the 90th minute, and then Kirby, who's from Waterford, scores from the edge of the box when there was 2 balls on the pitch and the ref just let it go. I think our last decade of pain have been paying back for that. And Paul Keegan scored then nearly 30 seconds later, I'd say. So for me, nothing's going to beat the old Lansdowne simply because of that. I don't think unless Steve Kenny wins the World Cup or something in the Aviva, will we be able to change that? But
yeah, he's going to need a few big nights, isn't he, in that stadium to turn that around.
Like the Aviva is beautiful. There's nothing wrong with it. I think it's we're lucky to have a place like it as well. But I don't know. I kind of
memory, certainly.
Yeah, this is it. And I like the kind of rough, edgy appearance in a lot of the League of Ireland grounds. I'll miss that when it's gone, even though we definitely need to upgrade a lot of the grounds. It'll be kind of a shame when they're gone. Like I love Dalymount the way it is now. I would never change that. It's completely ridiculous to approach things, but I would never change that. I wanted it to look like that in 100 years' time.
Where Barry, sticking
I
with
don't understand how people complain about it. They go there and they're like, it's a disgrace. I'm like, this place is amazing. This is everything a football ground should look like.
Where Barry, just we're sticking with the work that you do with the FEI in terms of the match day programs. When it comes to them big match days, and your art's going to be on the front cover, do you get nervous? Because the players are going to get nervous, and everyone has their job on the day, and everybody's a little bit apprehensive about their role. So, would you get nervous that you're going to have so many eyes on your artwork when it comes to the front cover?
Just waiting for the notifications to roll in and the abuse. It's generally good. People are very kind. A lot of people take photos and they're there at the ground with their kids or whatever. That's cool to see. And I know the players get the programs as well because so someone who works inside in there will send photos sometimes or whatever, So it's cool to know they're seeing the work as well. But I guess I've gotten used to it now. At the start, it was definitely terrifying. You're like, oh God.
Yeah, no,
do I want 50,000 people judging me?
I don't think people judge you. I think people they enjoy it, they love it. It's different than just having the general standard picture photo on the front, and it just gives it a more a warmth to the program, which is really like, and there was different ones for the women in the women's international games and stuff like that outside the stadium, girls playing football and stuff like that. It's not just about that senior team, it's about everything that's going on in Irish football. So I think it's important. Why Italy? What's the Italian thing? Are you doing a bit of work for Italian TV, or what's going on? You seem to like it.
I grew up right in the crosshairs of Football Italia on Channel 4, so I got a lot of early Italian football exposure.
Yeah.
And I don't really have an Italian club I follow. There's a lot of them have a lot of merits, It's a fun league with a lot of changes in the last few years. Roma did share my work once, which was great. So I have like 1,000 Roma fans follow me on Instagram who are always shouting at me to draw more Italian stuff. So every now and again I draw to keep that happy. But,
I like this one. I go back to this one. I like this. This reminds me. Yeah, it reminds me of Roy the Rovers. Do you remember Hotshot Hamish? I don't know if you remember him.
That's before my time.
Yeah, it's an old cartoon character who was it was in the Roy the Rovers magazine. But what he had, every player had their own special attribute. There was a little mini fella, but he was tenacious, that's the kind of standard. And then Hotshot Hamish would have the hardest shot in the world. Like when he scored, when he hit it right, the goalkeeper would go through the back of the nets holding the ball and into the stand. That's how we all celebrate. Yeah. This kind of reminded me of that. Like obviously here, the lines probably indicating how fast he is now, but when you do something like with the football there, where it's just an orange dot, why an orange dot? What's going through your head? Is that just to sync with the rest of the picture?
Yeah, I made a few that were like that, and it was mostly I was just experimenting at the time and trying out new styles, because a lot of the art making process is just like my decision making process in life, where you're just flailing around and trying to make the best decision you can and hoping for the best. And with these, they were a new type of drawings, and I was playing with the yellow lines and trying to, because it's a still image, so you're trying to make create the impression of movement or whatever. And I tried the lines behind him to show the impact or the speed or whatever. And I thought I don't know. I like the negative space with the ball and the flat color and stuff. You know, I don't think you always need to draw all the details.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just just playing around and trying to make. Sometimes you're just like, yeah, that looks good. Yeah, and you don't need to
I'm
think much
finished.
more than that. They hated me. They would. Yeah, I did a fine art degree. They would hate me if they heard me say that. But here we go. It was all about why you did things. I had to give that up once I left.
That's actually one of my favorites, just because it leaves it to your imagination of what's going to happen next. Where is he on the pitch? Again, if you look at it, again, Nathan, what would you think? Where is he on the pitch? What's he doing? Whereabouts is he?
Well, if we're going off the Ian Birmingham that I know and love, he's about to absolutely plant the ball across the keeper into the back of the net. That's the image I have in my head.
Not this year. Okay. That's a bit harsh, isn't it? Barry, how can people contact you? Where do they see your stuff? And I know you're on quite a few things.
Yeah, I guess I'm on Instagram and Twitter. I'm just at Barry Masterson. I have a Facebook page, Barry Masterson Art. Website, barrymasterson.com. And I think that's most of it. I'm easy to find. If you've managed to figure out how to watch this video, you'll be able to find me if you Google me. I trust you.
Well, not TikTok, we established that.
No, not TikTok. Hey, look, I'm on camera right now, and that takes a lot to get me on camera. I'm not a big camera person, so.
Well, I have to say, you've done fantastically well. I could hear it at the start that there was a little bit of shyness there, but that soon evaporated away, and you spoke really well. We're going to leave it there. Nathan, thanks very much as always for putting the hard work and time in. Just like Barry was saying, getting paid feck all, if nothing at all, for doing all the hard work. So I better appreciate you now while we have you. Barry, thanks very much for listen, every time you put out an image, a painting, picture, a sketch, it's exciting to see what you come up with, and looking forward to a few more, and we might even send a few ideas on to you, because I think that's what people find most interesting about it. It's nearly what's next, what's going to come next, what is he going to get next. I know you want payment and you want them to buy them, but it might be the one image. It might be the one image in their head that they have. So people are free to get onto you and to suggest something that they would like.
Oh yeah, sure. Show me abuse, suggest things, whatever you want to do. Just all interactions are good, that's the internet business.
That's good. Okay, we're going to leave it there. As I said, Nathan and Barry, thanks very much for your time, and everyone who's watching the Big Kickoff League of Ireland YouTube show, thank you.